Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to Let's Try March of the Eagles. This is not going to be a full Let's Play, this is just going to be an overview of the menus and kind of discussion of the game in general, of this, the latest released game from Paradox Development. This is the same company that, of course, put together Europa Universalis and Crusader Kings and Victoria. Don't be confused, Paradox is also a publisher, so they will publish many games that they don't necessarily develop themselves, but this is one of their actual games. It uses the Clausewitz engine, which is the same engine that is used to run Crusader Kings, so it has the same gorgeous map. This is also the same engine that's going to be used for Europa Universalis when it comes out. Now, special bonus for all you guys listening, I have received 3 extra keys, Steam keys for March of the Eagles, and if you follow me on Twitter this week, that's at Quill18 on Twitter, you can also see a link down below in the description box. I will be giving these keys away, so make sure to follow and keep a sharp eye out for instructions about how to get the free keys for this game. So we're going to jump right in. Again, this is not going to be a Let's Play. We're just sort of kind of poke around at some of the menus and see what's what. There is a tutorial in here, and I haven't actually looked at it. Historically, a lot of the Paradox tutorials have been a little opaque, a little hard to follow. They did get better with Crusader King, so and I know that this is one of the things that Paradox is going to concentrate on, so hopefully they've got a decent one, but we're not actually going to look at that today. They have stressed multiplayer considerably with this game. One of the things to note, this game is set, it starts in 1805, it covers a period of, they say 10 years, but I think it actually ends in 1820, which would be 15 years. So it is a very short period of time compared to most Paradox games. In fact, this is much more comparable to something like Hearts of Iron, which has a very limited time span. And it specifically covers the events of the sort of Napoleonic Wars. And they have emphasized, Paradox has emphasized there's a lot of multiplayer type of stuff in here. They've tried to design what would be a really good multiplayer game, and some people have made the argument that the single player is relatively easy. Now, I think a lot of the people making those cases are people who are experts at Paradox Grand Strategy games already. And so they're sort of having a little bit of a leg up, and I don't think a lot of the mechanics in here are going to be all that different from most of the other Paradox Grand Strategy games, so that's it. If you're a novice to the Grand Strategy genre, you might find it considerably harder than what these people claim. But we're going to take a look. We're going to go into single player and take a look. The map, of course, it is just Europe, very much like Crusader Kings 2, actually. It is the same sort of area that is covered, more or less, because this, again, the Napoleonic War mostly focused on Europe itself, so that's what we're going to be looking at, Europe and North Africa, and I guess a little bit of the Middle East and Asia and that sort of thing, but, you know, the core of the action is going to be here. They have highlighted 8 major nations, as being perhaps the most playable, which is France, Great Britain, Russia, Spain, Austria, Prussia, the Ottomans, and Sweden. But like every Grand Strategy Paradox games, you can basically play any nation that is on the map. You can play as Piedmont over here, or you can play as Wallachia, and I know I'm not saying any of these names correctly, but that's just the way it is, or you can decide to play as one of the great powers. France is going to be especially powerful at this time in history, and so if you're looking for an easier type of game, if you've got especially very grand goals other than just survival, starting with France is definitely going to be a good pick. I know a lot of people have done some pretty crazy stuff with Austria as well, for example. And actually, I saw a screenshot on the Reddit Paradox community of someone playing as Spain that's gone all the way in and taking Paris. So there's a lot of opportunity no matter who you play. So we're going to get started as France here. Of course, we're going to be playing as the Emperor Napoleon I as a major power, and we are starting in 1805 at 7 a.m. on the 1st of January. So because it's got a relatively short time span, the time does go kind of hour by hour here. At least I believe so, yeah. It looks like it's even got a day-night cycle. Again, this is my very first look at the game, which is why I'm not going to be playing the game. We're just going to be looking through some of the different menus and kind of oohing and awing at the different features. I do like, you know, you've got the pop-ups right away. You can pause and view these if you want when they come up. Otherwise, I'm just going to close them and sort of click through there. So again, you know, we've got the great map engine, runs really quick, really quite beautifully. I can show you the settings I've got. I'm pretty sure I've just got it at default settings. That right out of the box, this is the default settings that I got. So Nothing particularly fancy, totally unpatched, so who knows what's going to happen in the future. We can look at the map mode, so we're in terrain map mode, the political map mode, which is how I tend to play a lot of my games, for example, because I like to be able to see the borders. Although it is a shame, because the landscape is awfully nice, especially when you zoom in, you get to see all the trees. But, you know, I like functionality, and that tends to be the best there. Diplomatic map mode to show various relationships. You can also mouse over your own provinces, see what's a core province, for example. But also your relationship with the different nations around you, so you can very quickly get a bird's eye view of how things are. Of course, France starts off at war with Great Britain, so we are not particularly on good terms. Next map mode, dominance map mode. So there are a unique set of victory conditions or victory mechanics in this game, which again reminds me a little bit more. Well, that's an interesting sort of clipping effect here with the units. Which reminds me a little bit more of Hearts of Iron, if I understand it correctly. Again, this is my first look at the game. Yeah, see, control of Zurich is required for land dominance for France, for example. So there are a set of goals there that can be achieved. And I'm not sure, but I feel like these goals change depending on what nation you're playing. So I quite like that. Culture map mode. You know, what culture the different tiles are, which probably plays into various rebellion effects. Oh, we've got the Welsh culture there. That's nice and represented. Next, revolt map mode, which is pretty minimal most of our places, but apparently over here in the... is this the Alsace-Lorraine type of area? I'm trying to... I think that's... I haven't really gotten my bearings here. But that's probably, yeah, Rhinelander is their culture. That's part of the that's part of the problem here. So there's a risk of potential rebellion over here, which is quite cool. I do like that they actually have cities represented here. There's got to be a fort here, very, very visible. Let's see here. So supply limit. So supply, in any sort of more warfare-oriented game, supply is going to be a much bigger deal than a sort of a zoomed-out, more macro-style kind of gameplay. It features very, very heavily in Hearts of Iron. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a supply map mode here. So that probably indicates that troops can be cut off from supply, very much Hearts of Iron style, which means sort of formations and battle lines become exceedingly, exceedingly important. So that's the map overview here, or fort level. We didn't look at that. So we're still going to need to build a certain Maginot line at some point, perhaps. Manpower map mode, so where your reinforcements are going to come from when you build new troops. And the economy map mode is actually, I clicked through it, but I didn't actually look at it here. So income quite high, income non-existent, income quite low. Medium income, which is very interesting. I'm kind of curious. I don't know what drives the income yet. We're going to try to piece that together by looking through some of the screens. Just curious, what's the Anglo-French War starts off at a war score of 0%. Apparently we've got the Netherlands and Italy and Switzerland and Tuscany and the Papacy all on our side versus Great Britain. We also have double the manpower that they do. Wouldn't surprise me if we are at a naval disadvantage, though. Almost looks like are they docked? I think they are, and they're not particularly well off. They'll probably regain some manpower pretty quick. Let's take a look through some of the other menus and see what's what. I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of the control panels and things. I mean, I saw it in the screenshots, and I understand there's something relatively appropriately period about it, but to me, it looks a little flat and dull. And I don't know. I think that's just a personal preference thing. I do get a little bit of the same sort of vibe that I get out of Victoria, or Victoria 2, and I quite like that. But for some reason, it's not really hitting me here. I feel like most of the engine here is going to be very close to EU4. I suspect that when EU4 comes out, there's going to be a lot of similarities, and certainly. There's something about this control panel that makes me think more EU4 than Crusader Kings 2, for example. So we've got our standard little pop-ups from various activities. We are at war with Great Britain. Our ports are being blockaded here, which makes sense. We've got a British fleet out here. And can we get any information about it? We can find out there are 5 ships of the line and 5 light ships. And our particular fleet, it is 12 transports. That's interesting. Ah, there we go. Troop transport, troop transport. Wasn't sure if it was 2 transports here, and then the rest being any kind of assault ships. But it looks like, do we really not start with a navy at all? Here's our outliner. This is kind of an awkward, kind of overlay here. It should shove over or something, give us more space. Let's take out the cities for now, and then what was that? Wow, that is very awkward. Supply areas, armies, navies. Okay, so we've got some navies down below. Of course, there's still some British fleets going on down here. More ships of the line, whereas these are 5 ships of the line. So there's a bit of a navy there, but not much of one. What else do we have? We've got some over here in Brest, which are 8 ships of the line. Okay. Couple more here. And then, yes, our flotilla, which is actually all of our transport fleets, for example. So conceivably, France might want to consolidate these and fight them off. I haven't looked at technology, so I don't know if we were to engage the British with anything close to even numbers, if we would actually lose. We'll have to take a look at how those mechanics might work, or take a guess at how they might work without having actually done any kind of research whatsoever. There is, of course, a ledger, as in all the Paradox games, and it looks like this one is actually quite a bit nicer and more details. I like that we finally have graphs and the ability to filter on this front page. These are our victory conditions, which is very interesting. Our land dominance score starts off amazing. Or is that a target? No. That's our actual current land dominance score. We have no naval dominance. Hey, that's a question. How do we get naval dominance? I'm quite curious. Oops. Dominance map mode. Do we do it by blockading? Do we do it by killing people? Naval dominance. Oh, there are these blue ports, these major ports that we want to control for naval dominance. Now, France starts off at a bad place for doing that, the fact that we don't control any ports whatsoever. And I think they're much more positioned to just win through land. And still, that's quite interesting. So we are ahead in total dominance as is, but things can shift quite quickly. We could also break Great Britain's chance of getting a pretty decent score by taking away one of its ports, for example, if we were to take away Dublin somehow, but I suspect that would be exceptionally difficult to do. The other pages in the ledger, does this flip through? It does too. So compared to EU, oh no, some of these do have multiple pages. Okay, I was going to say in EU3, the ledger has quite a lot of pages to flip through. And here, they mostly correspond to tabs, but some of these, apparently, the economy, for example, no? Yeah, economy has tab 4, tab 5, manpower has 6 and 7, so some of these have more than others. Let's move on to our tabs over here. Our major tabs are overview. We're France. We're a revolutionary empire. Of course, the French Revolution has happened at basically the end of the last century, really. And some of the ideals of the revolution have maybe not persisted since we've now become an empire run by an emperor. Some may argue. And here we are. Do we have any information about ourselves? Well, we can hit the exclamation mark here to actually get more information from the tutorial point of view. I do like that they've got these all over the place. That's very, very helpful. Great built-in overviews, which I like. I like this sort of contextual help a lot more than tutorials. I like having the tutorials as well, and if I'm having a problem with the game, I will often do both, but it's nice to have a little reference here right on the fly that you can click on. In fact, what I should do is I should click on each one once, so that anyone who wants to see it can pause and read. I'll try to remember to do that on all the screens. So the dominance, we've got all the provinces that we can take. I like that there are shortcuts here to instantly go and find them. Here's Stockholm. Yeah, and I was still in the dominance map mode, which really made it stand out that it's a target and who currently controls all of these places, but also the land provinces that are important to take. Very, very handy. I like that Paradox is doing this. In the past, it's been kind of a pain in the butt to find certain things. They do have the Find Province helper over here, which is nice. Can you find a country? Like yeah, they still don't have sort of different levels of searching, which is too bad from this screen. There are probably other ways to get it. Decisions. So decisions have always featured pretty heavily, well, I don't know about always, but in all the recent Paradox games, there are different criteria that you can achieve to unlock certain decisions that you can trigger. Swap territory with Bavaria, create the Kingdom of Italy. So this is not something unique to France, one would hope. Presumably anyone who controls, if Italy doesn't exist, but you control Milano? Milano, oh man, my geography is terrible. Milano, which is, boom, right over here. Now that's really interesting. I want to go into political map mode. Right, so, because this is all broken up. It's quite interesting. I wonder what's the actual outcome of the event. Italy becomes a free nation, government changes. Oh, alright. Well, that's not quite as exciting as I'd hoped. So there's more things. Dissolution of the Holy Roman Empire. Wow. Not much else on the overview. Very EU kind of rulership stats, you know, your stars. It's kind of weird because the stars actually represent 2 points in the skill. So I have an actual administrative skill of 9, a diplomacy of 7, and a military skill of 9. So the stars are a little bit misleading there. And I never really liked that, and I thought it was a little odd. Because they don't even show you a half star for the end. They show you 5 stars and then tell you your skill is 9. So I don't know. Victory conditions, again, we're seeing that time and time again. Standard victory conditions. Okay, now, is it just showing the top 2 countries? Is that the idea here? Is it always showing us plus someone else? You win the game by being the only major power with 100% in both naval and land dominance. Standard victory conditions reflect how you progress. Well, that's very interesting. So most of the most of the Paradox games don't have a victory condition at all, right? What they have are, they may or may not give you a score. And basically you just set your own goals most of the time. Some of the games do give you a score feedback. Some of them give you a ranking. For example, Victoria 2 will rank all the great powers, well, all the powers in the game, by some combination of prestige, industry, and military. But Crusader Kings doesn't rank you that way, but it does give you a score based on the prestige and piety of each one of your rulers as they die in succession. So this game has an actual victory condition. And it's interesting that you need 100% in both naval and land. So as France, you start with enough land, but no naval. And as Britain, you start with lots of naval, but no land. So that's kind of an interesting opposition there. So there are no victory points whatsoever for dominance, for land dominance in Great Britain. Which, I mean, makes sense. Like, if you control Great Britain, that's great. But in terms of controlling the land of Europe, being on this island over here doesn't really count. You need these sort of very core central nations. So I'm starting to think that these victory points are not different by nation, or maybe I'm wrong. Because as I click on these different areas, as I click on different nations, different victory points light up. That is truth. So the Ottomans need to control these provinces. So that's very curious because you're not necessarily competing over the same victory points. So Austria and France both compete over Milano. But I wonder if anyone else does. Is there a quick way to find that out? Doesn't look like it. So these guys will be in direct conflict, which I suppose historically, you know, the sort of Germanic empires and the French Empire would definitely butt head over some of the places here, whereas France doesn't really directly care about what's going on sort of in this area, other than the fact that you may want to block the Ottomans from winning, and this leads to some really interesting diplomacy. Now I'm starting to understand, because the big draw with this game wasn't just that it's a big military game, is there's supposed to be a lot of sneaky diplomacy opportunities. And if you're not competing directly for certain goals, like Austria and France both competing over Milano and also Firenze, and that's it. Looks like just those two. No naval ports? No. Although a few other adjacent provinces here, there's some possibility for skirmish as well. Oh, interesting. Roma is needed for France for navy, but or sorry, for France it needs it for land, and Austria needs it for navy. So there's a little more. So it makes the idea of France and Austria sort of cooperating with each other very unlikely. On the other hand, France might cut a deal with the Ottomans, especially since there's a potential for some scuffling around this area between Austria and the Ottomans. So I quite like that. The diplomacy is supposed to be great, and I can definitely see how that sort of thing would happen, especially in multiplayer. It's probably a lovely, lovely game for all that. So that is the victory overview. Now we've got our budget. Am I wrong, or there's not a whole lot you can do on this screen? You can take loans. You can see what all your income is. You can see what all your expense is. But there's not actually anything to interact with on the screen. And for someone like me who really likes the economic aspect of games, which is one of the reasons I like Victoria 2 so much, that makes me a little bit sad. But that's the thing. It's supposed to be a diplomacy and war game more than that sort of management. Military, it looks like we can get a great overview. Is this where we purchase military then? This is where we recruit. Well, that's very interesting. Because I'm used to the EU model where you would recruit stuff on a local level. And it looks like I can do that here, which we will look at a little bit more. So let's say, okay, what would happen? Ooh, a supply brigade. Oh, I'm not going to be able to really guess exactly how supply works, unfortunately. That's definitely something I'll have to hit up the manual for at some point. But let's say I want to build some sort of infantry. Fortress line brigade. Oh, you click there, and then it shows me where it can be built. Oh, well, that's actually a great interface for building this stuff in bulk. So it gives you a list of everywhere where you could build such a thing, which is going to be much more relevant for ships, for example. Right? It'll only be naval provinces. Build in cities only. So there is a difference, and I did notice there was a city list. So let's see. We've got the province of... Let's compare these two of Cayenne. I don't know how to say this. Which has a city. Yes, it has a city. And then Saint-Lô also has a city. I can't actually... Oh, I can. No, that's the garrison. Ah, but this one doesn't. There we go. Alencon. Alencon? I'm not sure. I'm even technically French, but I'm just super bad at this. Shot! See, I should have gone that. Anyway, no city. Can you build a city? Oh, I gotta hit these things so you guys can read this. We can increase supply limits. You know, we can rename provinces. That's very happy making. Oh, I missed this. What's the territory here? Plains. Oh, and it's percentage based too. It's not absolute. Start construction. Yeah. So in the construction hearing, I can build a depot. Fort civilized development. Become civilized, produce more taxes, supply and conscripts. If I go here, Fort 2, same. Is civilized development always an option, even when they have cities? Maybe it's an absolute. Maybe you can just always continue to do this. Development level +1 is what it gives us. Development status, developed. Developed. Alright, so most of this is just going to be developed. If we find... I don't know. What about in the south? Develop. Major roads, basic roads. Oh. What was civilized? Cleared. Developed. Ah, Dijon. Dijon is civilized, but not developed. Civilized development. And then cleared over here. Normal development. Upgrades roads to major. Oh, well, that's really cool. All right. So roads give us... I won't describe it. Well, that's unfortunate. It will describe the developed, though. So I'm kind of digging that. So then we have ideas. So ideas is something that is... well, I guess it's akin to technology. More than anything else. And it's one of the things that's making big splashes for Europa Universalis 4, these ideas that you can have. And I guess, you know, in EU3 as well. Some of them can be exchanged, presumably. It looks like there are generic ones, and then there's a specific one to France. And these are just plain upgrades. They're not like something selectable, it seems like. Just direct upgrades from a lower one to a higher one. We do have idea points. We gain 15 idea points every month. Cost 200. Oh, we still don't have the base. Ah, here we have some. We have some land movement ideas locked in. And everything that is highlighted here in sort of orangey red we can purchase, and everything in gray we can't purchase yet because we don't have the upgrades or we don't have the funds for. And then finally diplomacy, which I'm really curious about looking at here. 6 ideas which are here. We are at war with Great Britain, a coalition with France, the Netherlands, Italy, Switzerland, Tuscany, Papacy, and Spain. We have satellites. The Netherlands, Italy, Switzerland, Tuscany, and Papacy are my satellites. Well, that's interesting. We're guaranteeing the independence of Bavaria, military access through Nassau. Views Great Britain, Spain, and Prussia as natural rivals. Well, of course. In fact, we want Barcelona specifically. We also would like Lisboa. But that, and Spain wants some of us, so yeah, that's definitely a place where there's going to be a little bit of argument happening, and I feel threatened by Prussia and Spain, and that sort of information is going to be very handy if we can view another nation. Oh, there we go. Right, so then we find out who they're feeling threatened by and what we can do about that, and tie things in. The diplomacy options seem relatively standard. It does have both war subsidies and expeditionary force options, which is quite nice, allowing you to perhaps fight a proxy war, for example. Can I diplomacy from here? Yeah. So war subsidies, you would give them money if they were at war. These Denmark is not currently at war. But if they were, we could do that. And then the expeditionary forces, we would give them units. And that would only, again, that's only coalition members. What about the Netherlands, who should currently be at war? Yeah, we can give them money, we can send them troops, we can ask them to give us troops. So you can do a lot of proxy wars and things, and it'd be very interesting to see how all that works out in multiplayer. I expect this is not a game with which you make friends in multiplayer. It is interesting that apparently we can look at each other's ideas from here. So level 3 naval movement, level 2 production ideas. Countries at war, ports are blockaded. We have 69 unemployed leaders. Oh, our war leaders, okay. So, wow, we've got quite a few options here. So there's maneuvering, offensive rating, defensive ratings, sort by number of traits, overall expertise. Let's find some people with traits. No one's got traits? Oh, that's a shame. Do you have traits? Can I look at you somehow? I do not know. Alright. So let's look at the war map here. The actual number of units. Is there anywhere where there could be a kerfuffle? I suppose I could just move some units out to sea. Let's see what the... Are they currently reinforcing? Morale is 1 of the maximum of 1.8. Base value. War exhaustion, current ruler. So we have a little bit of war exhaustion going on, but our ruler is giving us huge, huge traits. Let's combine our ships here and then see what happens when we go up against one another. So we have money, we have prestige, we have manpower, we have 2 diplomats, and we have a little war exhaustion. France is the land-dominant country. Great Britain is... That's why these two are... They're not necessarily just the top 2. That's just the top, probably, land and naval powers. Maybe not. Wait, are there 2 separate? Okay. All right, let's unpause briefly and see what happens when our ships move. Oh, that's not a day-night cycle. Or it is. Oh, it is. Look at that. It goes by quite quickly. Great Britain has formed a coalition against us. Really? With Brunswick. All right. So let's just speed things up. I just want to see what a naval battle looks like. Okay, the morale is going up, which is very good. Napoleon Bonaparte became King of Italy, and particularly misleading expression since the territory included in this realm was not the peninsula. Wait, what? It's very interesting. Okay, so we've got some, like, modifiers that applied to us. Whoa, there are more buttons than I'm used to. Create new unit. Load army onto ships. Oh, I've got the army selected, which is not what I meant, but still. Replacements for this army is allowed. So we can enable or disable replacements. Ooh, look at this view. There's a lot of stuff to look at here. I'm quite entertained. Transfer. Left flank, right flank, reserved. There is, of course, there should be a lot more. I can rename these guys. Oh, I can click on them from information. Frontage, speed, morale, defense. Quite a bit of sophistication in the combat, and I forgot that I was moving some ships. There we go. Let's combine this navy here. Not trying to avoid battle. Oh, yeah. Alright, let's see if we can ambush these guys. 8 ships of the line. We have 10. Now, they do have a lot of tech behind us, right? They have 3 points in naval movement ideas. Better speed, more blockade efficiency. And overseas bases can repair ships in coalition members' ports. Well, let's go. We've got some idea points. Let's throw some points into our navy. And then see what that does for us right over here. Boom. Alright. Let's slow things way, 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 way down. Battle of this place. We've got Zachary Allemande, which actually means German, which is interesting. Apparently, like, France has a history of having various leaders with last names that are from other countries, because the current French president, in reality, is François Hollande, which is like the Netherlands, right? Or Holland, anyway. Roll the 1. So we have less skill, which is not terribly surprising. So this guy's got 6s all the way through. Oh, Lord Nelson. Yeah, I've heard of this guy. Our morale is instantly lower. I mean, the combat did go on a little bit, but I suspect we're probably going to just lose this. We've taken some damage right away. They are still totally full. Peace offer from Brunswick. So they honored the alliance and immediately peaced out. Oh, we concede defeat. No, never. So I was thinking that there'd be a little bit more sort of visually going on here. Land battles might be a little bit different. Of course, how are we going to do a land battle? Well, let's just grab 1 stack of troops here. Let's load them onto the ship, since the Navy might be slightly distracted. Oh, we can't do it that way, huh? That's interesting. Let's move the Navy to the Strait of Dover. We'll probably just get killed along the way, but we'll see what we can pull off. That was weird. Oh, it shows the troops when I've got the ship selected. Alright. I guess that's reasonable. Oh, there we go. Can I disembark? No, I can't. So we're just going to lose the ship and all those people. I was really hoping to push a land battle. I could just declare war on some other random neighbor and just see what happens. There we go, Austria. Let's just declare war on you. Declare war. You don't need to casus belli or anything? Really? Can we literally just declare war on anyone anytime we want? What about Persia? Looks like yes. So let's just declare war over here and grab some troops and move them. We've got a huge stack over here. Let's combine you guys. Move into Verona. Move you guys over here to where there's a night fort, and then the rest of you guys can go this way. What kind of technologies did they have set up? Oh, not much in terms of ideas. We lost our battle in the Strait of Dover. Not a surprise. And we're going to lose this battle as well. But that's okay. I'm over the naval stuff now. Not really interested. Zachary, who's currently assigned, has gained a trait. He's now a tactician for being able to run away. Tactician 1 gives him a penalty to attack but a bonus to defend. Well, apparently he's really good at just running away. We've won the Battle of Rona. I actually want to investigate these land battles. So can we catch any others here? Let's just move up. We're going to have a river crossing penalty, I expect. Speed up. See if we can trigger a land fight. See what that looks like. Frontage should play into effect pretty greatly. Okay. So, this is a pretty familiar display, and I'll go through these little pop-ups here. Very typical Paradox kind of battle scene. Although it lacks the sort of square dots that I'm used to thinking of in terms of frontage. Regular strategy. Regular strategy, bombard. River crossing is a very brutal penalty, and we came in at even numbers, so we'll almost certainly just lose this battle here. I think we have relatively even skills. No, I actually have better skills, but I'm not seeing a bonus reflective of that. Leader of this flank and the CIC increase the attack of the troops in this flank by 20%. That's good. Okay, so we do have some bonuses there, which apparently are going to go a long way towards offsetting the river crossing. Nothing special happened during the battle. Now, how do you actually occupy this? Is this being occupied? Well, I can assault. Probably fail. Fortress Siege Day 4, next event in 10 days. There's not a progression icon for the siege, which I'm quite surprised about. Curious. Let's unpause and see what happens here. Fortress is undamaged. Want some more battles? I'm not interested in the battles. I just want to see what happens with the siege. I don't know, we'll move in more units just in case it makes a difference. Austria was overwhelmed by their mighty opponent. Von Württemberg cried while his whole army cowardly deserted. Oh yeah, I think like morale and things like that really matter in like a different and unique way. There's more modifiers and events and things that can happen. Victory. Russia joining in. Oh, that's bad news. Anyway, I think this brings me to the end of the units are out of supply. Oh, well, there's a question. Take a quick look at the supply map mode. Which units? Oh, right here. So I'm going to get attrition down in this area because I don't have enough supply right here. Very interesting. But I've got a nice amount of supply here. Why is this area not getting the same amount of supply as some of the others? Curious about that. Is it the landscape? It's quite hilly. Whereas if we go all the way over here, hills, plains, very plains. Oh, probably the roads and things too. It's major roads over here though. Like here we can actually support quite a bit. I mean, we're slightly out of supply. Oh, it's this guy. What? That makes no sense. Very odd. I know there are also the supply units, but anyway, enough of that. Clearly I don't know much about the game. This is just going to be a very quick overview. Overall, I mean, I think it's beautiful and lovely. Reddit has been exploding with posts, people showing off their games, their successes. And again, I really think that the multiplayer aspect is really going to be where this game shines. And as I said, I have three keys to give away to this game. So if you follow me on Twitter, @Quill18, then, wow, lots of events. Look at all these different commands and things too. It's actually quite exciting. If you follow me on Twitter, there will be announcements for how you can win those keys. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.